When you want to know what's going on behind the scenes, you need to think about what the media, political discussions, and acclaimed books have been silent about over the last 20 years or so. Future or improved socio-economic models, future visions. Sadly, people feel we have less reason for optimism. Growing financial inequality and the contribution of billionaires. Corruption. Hardly any corruption or tax fraud scandals are uncovered. Are there hardly any such journalists?
Action!
When you want to know what's going on behind the scenes, you need to think about what the media, political discussions, and acclaimed books have been silent about over the last 20 years or so. Future or improved socio-economic models, future visions. Sadly, people also feel we have less reason for optimism. Growing financial inequality and the contribution of billionaires. Corruption. Hardly any corruption or tax fraud scandals are uncovered. Hardly any such journalists. Poisoning of the environment, different dangerous chemicals, price gouging of corporation, even not in times of exploding gas prices, high inflation, etc. Many other hidden agendas and activities behind the curtains. Overaging, population growth on Earth. Simple population reduction solves most of our environmental problems. Looking at the last 3 points seem to support this. Also, it'll solve the Earth's limitation problems and automation job loss problem. Some people assume that this might be the agenda of some rich, influential people. Socialists propose to tax the rich heavily as a counter-movement and to move towards a fairer distribution of wealth. I want to outline today a smarter and more humane way to solve the major problems. But first, let me analyze our current problems completely, divided first into those that are discussed in the media and mostly follow the agenda of the rich, and those that are not. In the media, problems are brought up which hold the general population responsible. The raise in prices, raise in taxes, limits deductions, and distract attention away from corporation, especially regarding climate change, although 91% of it is caused by these companies. There are other strange trends happening in the media, traveling around the country or world to work in a shared house, always under precarious employment conditions. And the media, of course, only showing a nearby beach or pool. Not having more personal properties than fit into a backpack. Not eating meat, poultry, or fish anymore, just veggie, vegan, or insects. Importing only local produce, not flying. Some media has even gone as far as promoting living with cardboard furniture in tiny houses or cardboard houses for being less material intensive and more environmental friendly, or renovating an old house in the countryside for eco reasons. Those are attempts to make the reduction of standard, poverty, and exploitation look cool, while the rich get richer. Further mechanisms of the rich include think tanks, mainly to come up with alternate solutions not to tax the rich. Young politicians often ask for innovative funding, but that's rarely happening due to the rich, because that would reduce the time that the last innovation has a cash cow. Charity events are great networking events amongst the rich, and a greater distraction from the common fact that just fractions of a percent of one's yearly income or total wealth are donated, if not just being used to host a star or performer on such a charity event. Mainly image building, dominance mechanisms, having a network of friends at work and towards some smaller companies. Okay. Sorry, can you just stop?
Okay, that was cool.
Dominance mechanisms? Okay.
3, 2.
Dominance mechanisms. Having a network of friends at work and towards some smaller companies, or even corruption. Just being able to call another big entrepreneurs due to family connections. At the same time, they are forcing employees and contractors into contest and competition. The bottom line, much is all about the billionaires' interests. They don't want you to see that they're always taking larger and larger shares and leave the general population in the same or worse condition. They just want you to blank out those perceptions in the public. Now, a key but more hidden problems. Most recessions are avoidable. They are there mainly for companies to reduce costs and kick out older employees. Monetary systems. Your bank only takes 1 to 10% of the risk, but is still making money a scarce resource. However, money is not as scarce as everybody has seen during the last crises. It can just be printed. However, holding up hyperinflation in times of a crisis is a problem. Creating bureaucracy, then paying lawyers because it got too complex, then breaking out of it trying to solve a crisis but accepting corruption which aggravates problems. When you see single cases documented in the media, that's typically a sign that everybody else doesn't get help. For example, regarding illegal rip-off schemes, lawyers that help single people. These are just examples. We as a society must become much more efficient at the highest level and start immediately, improving each year by 5% globally in all the 15 or more problem categories to avoid a big catastrophe. If you've ever tried to improve by 5% regarding the points you get across school, college, or university subjects, you'll know how hard this is. Reduction of CO2 emissions, stop of deforestation, electrical vehicles, and all the currently discussed topics all just maximally lead to 0.1% yearly improvement in each single major problem category. To prevent the collapse of nature, our economy, and civilization, we need to improve by several percent a year in all these major categories. That means we have to improve 10 or 100 times faster than we currently are. We need to think and act so much bigger, and this can only be achieved by massive systematic shifts. We must all become more efficient at a personal and team level. More cooperation, fewer conflicts. Crime, and especially corruption, must be minimized. We must eliminate all misdirected incentives. We must eliminate all unethical, manipulative, or exploitive abusive zero-sum activities. We must fix all the major issues of current capitalism. We must efficiently get to objectively good decisions. We must exploit our creativity instead of nature. We do not have time to discuss this and for testing. If you had the possibility to turn the Titanic's helm to avoid the iceberg, even if you knew that it meant everyone would laugh at you, or that you could get in trouble, would you still save their lives? It's the same with our society and the 15 or more wicked problems. We must be quickly to turn our common ship's helm on a planetary level to avoid unprecedented disasters. This concept would lead to the biggest socio-economic change since the last World War, shifting 50% of our GDPs and retaining millions. But that seems to be the only way to avoid these 15 or more problem categories, where we're just each away, a step from the abyss. If we don't act quickly, then in many more countries, reality be surpassing any Hollywood movies, as Germany does already with its rocker wars and spectacular Arab clan robberies. Thanks for listening. We invite you to the Potentialism Network. Therefore, we'd be pleased to meet you on potentialism.net.